Hello everyone. The reason I'm doing this video today is because I have to work on a bike that needs replacing the cam chain. Now, that is a fairly labor-intensive job. I only have two hands, nothing to hold the phone with, or recording device, shall we say. The point is that I found a video on YouTube made by a guy. I think the name of the channel is Irek, which is IREK, and it's about replacing the cam chain on an XV700, so essentially a V-Star or a Dragstar 1100. The visual demonstration is brilliant because you can see pretty much everything he shows, but I think the video is in Polish. Don't quote me on that, it might be Czech, but I think it's Polish. And I'll put the link in the description. The reason I'm doing this video is because I saw a couple comments under said video made by Irek, where people requested Spanish or English or whatever version of the video, which he can't make. So I sort of try to explain what he's doing, so you can synchronize the thoughts in your head with the pictures you see when you watch his video. Like I said, I can't do it myself because replacing the cam chain is already a two-man job, and there's just one of me, of course. Plus, I would have to hold the camera. That's pretty much impossible. So watch that video, but I'm going to explain what's going on. So essentially, first of all, we have to make sure that the cam chain is stretched. That is fairly easy to determine because you take the tensioner, loosen the screws, well, actually Allen bolts, right there, that, and there's one behind. So loosen that with those bolts and let it back out. And of course the little plunger in it is going to extend until the cam chain is tensioned, shall we say. Now in this case it is going to extend to the maximum position, and if you see just a little bit of a gap here, like a 2 or 3 millimeters, that means the cam chain is about to stretch too far out. Of course, if there's no travel whatsoever and you hear a blanging, clicking noise, obviously that means the cam chain is already ready to be replaced. Now, first of all, I would like to caution everyone, the best thing you can do is to take everything apart. Well, not everything, but you have to take the cover off, take the flywheel off, and there's an intermediate gear behind the flywheel that drives the chain from the bottom, and of course that's the driven sprocket of it. So yeah, essentially the best thing you can do is to pop this cover off, pop the bottom gear and sprocket off, take the chain out, feed the new chain in down the channel, hook it up to the bottom cam drive sprocket slash gear, because it has two sides. The inner side is the sprocket for the chain, the outer side is a gear that connects or meshes with the flywheel. Anyway, so yeah, the best thing you can do is use an endless chain which is riveted together from the factory, and then reassemble everything. Now the method he uses is that involves an open end high-vo chain or a silent cam chain. You know, the type that we have in the Virago, which is this sort with no rollers. It has inverted links, so essentially you have the indentation that fits on the tooth, so you have a nice and even surface, spreads the load more evenly than a roller chain, so it lasts longer. And it since you have multiple links side by side, it is not as prone to stretching. However, it may stretch. Now in Viragos and V-Stars the chain is not that bad. You can do 40 to 60,000 miles in most cases on a chain, and that is about 60 to 100,000 kilometers if we convert it to European, which is where I am. Now the point is that if you need to replace it, the best thing you can do is use an endless chain which is riveted together and closed up at the factory. But if you have to use an open end chain, that's what Irek's video is all about. So first of all, you have to make sure that the timing is correct, and you have to make sure you understand the timing. If you find it too complicated, just take it to a mechanic. But essentially, the alignment we're looking for the rear cylinder is this. You have this dot lining up with that little tooth sort of thing, that protrusion on the casting. So if you look at like so, that's vertical perfectly, and down here you should see the T mark, or the little hash between next to the T mark, lining up with that protrusion inside, like so. I'm sorry, it's rather awkward with the camera and the light, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. So that is the starting point for this whole setup, and that's the starting point for the engine cycle, and that is when the rear cylinder fires. If you turn the engine counterclockwise, clockwise, what am I talking about? So yeah, if you turn the engine clockwise, like this little arrow shows. By the way, that arrow does not tell you how to, or which direction to open the crank cap. Many people broke their cam cap, which is essentially an aluminium cap that covers this inspection hole. Many people broke it because they thought that this refers to that being left hand threaded. It isn't. It's a normal right hand jobby. This shows the direction of the engine. So yeah, you have to turn the engine clockwise 285 degrees, and then the front cylinder will have the same alignment. The cam gear on the front will have its little dot or indentation or hole in the baffle plate line up with this protrusion, and then you have to turn 435 degrees to get back to zero. Keep that in mind. That is how this engine is timed. So we set this means the pressure is off the rear valves, and then without removing that jobby, the tensioner, you have to hold onto the crank with a 22mm socket or something, and then you can loosen that 17mm bolt right there that holds the cam sprocket. And once that is just about loosened, like this one, this is just about loosened, but it's not taken off yet. We want to keep this in place for now. So when it is loosened, then you remove the tensioner, and once the tensioner is removed, then you can take this bolt out, pop the chain off, and push the pin out of the chain. Obviously put some rags or something down there, because you don't want anything to fall down into the engine. So have some shop rags ready, because you don't want anything to fall down there. So yeah, once the tensioner is out and the chain is loose, then you can pop the sprocket off, and once the sprocket off, you can take the chain and put it to one side and use one of the chain breaker tools, like this one, to push the pin out. Choose the, well, obviously they come with multiple sized push pins, like this one. That is the, I think that's 2.2 mils, and the ones in there are 2.5, 2.55 or 2.6, something along those lines. But the point is, you have to push the pin out, connect the new chain with the old chain using a piece of wire or something. Then you have to turn the engine over while keeping the chain taut with your hand, because you don't want the chain to fall off the bottom sprocket. So you have to feed it all the way through until the old chain is on the outside and the new chain is on the inside of the engine. Then you disconnect the two chains, and then you have to assemble the master link, shall we say, or rivet link. Now the funny thing is, since this is a high-vo chain, this does not really require riveting, shall we say, because the side plate is very tight. Let me show you what that is all about. Okay, so this is the, shall we say, master link for the cam chain. As you can see, there are three in-between links with the shape of the cam sprocket cut into them, and that is the end plate, which is solid in the center. Now this one is a very, very, very tight fit on these pins. You can't even push it on by hand, so it's not like your normal drive chain on another bike. This fucker doesn't want to go in that hole because it is a very tight fit. In this case, you just feed it through the back of the chain like Irek does in his video. You have to press this on using, well, he uses channel lock pliers, which essentially work, but I'm a little bit skeptic about it, mainly because you can damage this side plate. You can bend it accidentally if you're clumsy. So what I would recommend is take this before you squeeze it on. Take this, get some grease, smear it on, and use, well, obviously you just took out your old chain. Use one of the in-between links from your old chain, because these have larger holes, so the pin fits through nicely. Oh fucking hell, come on, focus. So the pin fits through nicely. So as you can see, the pin is rather loose in that one. So use one of those, essentially glue it on top of the end plate with some grease. Make sure the pins are lined up and squeeze on that, because that is going to make sure that the pins can protrude through these holes, so it does not butt up against the pliers when you squeeze them together. And of course that is going to protect this side plate somewhat when you squeeze it together. And once that's done, all you have to do is give it a couple blows with a hammer. Essentially you have to use another hammer or something heavy and metal from the back to keep this in place, to back it up. And then from the front you give it a couple blows with a hammer until you see a little bit of deformation, just to be on the safe side, well, on the tip of course, I mean, so it does not slip off. I mean the side plate, sorry, I'm not with it today, but that's essentially the point. And once that is done, you have to make sure that the engine is timed properly and you can put the sprocket back together, because obviously when you have to feed it through, you have to turn the crank several times. Since this is a 98 link chain and this sprocket has 28 teeth, this has to this would need to turn 3.5 times before the chain gets back to its beginning. That means, since this is a 4-stroke engine, that the crank has to turn 7 times until the chain is fed through and you end up in the same position, just obviously in this case with the new chain on the inside and the old chain on the outside. So you have to turn this over a few times and you're going to lose the mark that you set here. Now, to make sure that you get the proper timing alignment is to find out what the 0 point looks like on the other side, because you have to remember that 2 cylinders are linked together. When this T mark is aligned with the little protrusion, and when this thing is aligned with its little protrusion, in that case the front cylinder, like that, in that position, as you can see, it has a similar sort of pointer, but it is a hole on that baffle plate. So that's where it is. That's the position you're looking for. To find this position, or to make it easier, I would recommend taking the alignment pin out of the camshaft before reassembly. Because that pin locks the sprocket and the camshaft together. Now if you take it out, the sprocket will turn on the camshaft freely without actuating the valves, right? So this acts as a normal freewheeling spindle. And you just take the pin out, put the sprocket on, put the bolt in hand tight like so, and then you can turn it around until you find the T mark right there. And at the same time you have to make sure that the front cylinder is in the position that I showed you, basically the real 0 position where we started from. And once you found that point, you just undo this bolt, put the alignment pin back in place, make sure the cam sprocket is aligned with the protrusion. Fucking hell, focus. So make sure the sprocket is back in the proper alignment, confirm, then do this up hand tight, put the tensioner back in, reactivate the tensioner, and once the chain is taut and this one needs tightening, then of course you have to block the rotation of the crank, and then you can do this up, and it's a 55 Newton meter torque setting that you need there. That's pretty much it. And once that's done, this chain should be good to go. Now, a couple more tips. When you put the new link back in there and you squeeze the side plate on and you give it a couple blows with a hammer, I would recommend checking the diameter of the pin beforehand. Now, you take your calipers, because I would recommend using calipers by all means, just to confirm that you're doing it right. Check the diameter before hitting it with the hammer. It will be like 2.6, 258, something like that. Check it this way and this way, so 90 degrees in two positions. Now once you have a data, then you put something behind that link, hit it with the hammer a few times until you see some marks on the pin, and then you take your calipers and measure the diameter of the head of the pin once again. Make sure it actually deforms somewhat. You don't have to hit it until it goes up to 3 millimeters or something. Just a little bit over the diameter you started with. So if it was 2.6, if you reach 2.67 or 2.7, you're golden, and that's it. It does not need much because it's already a very tight fit. This is more like, you know, just the sake of just to be on the safe side. It's about that. So that would be my commentary on Irek's video. I'm going to put a link in the description where you can see the process of him doing it. Well, lucky guy, he has a tripod or someone to help him. In my case, I just can't do it on my own, filming and whatnot. So yeah, that's all I can say for today. Good luck, and see you next time.